How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. By popular demand, we are doing another Overwatch League tier list video, and this time I decided to go with flex tanks, and just like with the last one, this is unscripted and it's just for fun. So if I put a player where you don't like, don't get super triggered. It's all in good fun. This isn't meant to be taken super seriously. It is roughly where I'd put everybody, but again, there are some jokes and stuff that are going to be in this one in particular, so don't take it too seriously. And yeah, let's get straight into things by starting off with the Scrim God himself, our Lord and Savior, Zephyr. He is obviously the only Scrim God we have in the Overwatch League, so of course he's going to be at the top, am I right? And of course, I mean, it's just so obvious that Zephyr is the best flex tank in the entire Overwatch League, and who am I kidding? He's not actually that good, but I'm doing this for the memes. Shout out to everybody in my Discord community, because they all know that I love to joke around about Zephyr. A bunch of other people like to do it too. I know that Zephyr's kind of just a meme in general in the Overwatch League community, but in my Discord channel especially, yeah, he is all over the place. We're always making jokes about him, and shameless plug, you can join my Discord through the link in the description. Yeah, I highly recommend joining my Discord server if you haven't already, because we have a lot of fun over there. You can have an opportunity to talk with me, maybe play some games in the future during game nights. You can talk to some other amazing people, make some friends. It's all just a lot of fun over there. I highly recommend joining if you haven't already. But anyway, let's put Zephyr where he actually belongs. He's basically a D tier, but because of the memes, we're going to keep him at Scrim God, but just move him down all the way to the bottom, just so we can take things a tiny bit more seriously, you know? Okay, so that looks better. Next, as we get a bit more serious, we have Bishu. And Bishu, I've always thought of him as a pretty consistent D.Va player. I don't think he's over the top. He's not like this unstoppable force or anything. But again, the consistency has always been there for him, I feel like. And even though he hasn't played yet this year, I feel like he's still probably around B tier. I think that's fair for him. He's not A or S, but he certainly doesn't belong in C, D, or Scrim God, because after all, Zephyr's the only Scrim God. But anyway, next up we have Choyobin. And I don't know if some people are going to be mad at me for this. I feel like some may be, but I believe that Choyobin's S tier. I think he has proved once and for all that he is one of the best divas in the league. He wasn't that good last year, but he has really stepped up his game this year, and he definitely deserves to be there. Some people will say, oh, Sinatra, Violet, Super, they all carried him, but I have to disagree there. I personally feel like Choyobin has been a massive contributor for his team. Not only has he been getting a lot of kills with his self-destructs and making sure that he eats a good amount of graviton surges, but he's also been doing a good job appealing for his backline and making sure that both Super and Sinatra don't die that much. I feel like S tier is just well deserved at this point, especially because of how successful the Shock have been. Next up, we have Coolmat, and, well, if this was last year, like early stage 1 last year, I'd say high C, maybe low B at his peak. Probably not, though, but this year Coolmat has been just, not very good. I'll be honest. He's a D tier. His D.Va has fallen off quite a bit. His Zarya's never been anything special. I feel like D is where he belongs. Now we have Dako, and while I don't think he's a top 5 D.Va player in the league or anything like that, I definitely think he is of the higher tiers. I'd say maybe top B. You know what? No. I'm going to say he's like low to mid A. He has been one of the best players on the Atlanta Reign by far for the entire year. But not just that, I feel like his D.Va in general has been extremely dominant. And you can just see when he plays games how much he can take over at times. He definitely deserves A. Now we have Elsa, and I feel like a lot of people just don't talk about him because Chengdu has guys like Among and Jinmu. But I think Elsa's actually a pretty solid D.Va player. Is he better than Bishu? Probably not, but overall, he's a good flex tank player. He can also play Sombra. Very strong player, definitely. Now we have Envy, and I have a lot of respect for him as an LA Valiant enthusiast. I always thought he was good for the team last year, but since we're mostly just talking about how Season 2 have gone for people so far, I think that Envy definitely deserves to be, like, B tier. I don't think he's A. I'd say if it was Stage 1 and I did this list, he'd be in the A tier, but he has fallen off a little bit. Overall, he's still a really good player. I think his D.Va is strong. I think he has a good Sombra. He can flex onto Pharah too. I think he deserves high B. I put him above Bishu personally. Next up, we have Finzi. And I don't think he's as bad as people say. I'll be honest. I don't think he's amazing. Don't get me wrong. But not quite as bad as people say. Is he better than Coolmat? Yeah, probably. Does he deserve C tier? Maybe. For now, I'll put him high D. I think he has an okay D.Va. It's not anything spectacular. He can also flex onto DPS if needed. I like Finzi. I don't think he's great, but definitely not the worst flex tank player in the league. Who do we have next? Ah, yes, FRD. Wait, no, excuse me. I mean Fried. I don't know why the commentators can't call this guy by his actual name, but hey, whatever. I actually used to call him FRD too, but that was only when he first joined the league because I'd never heard of the guy. Then my comment section was quick to correct me on how to actually say his name. But anyway, I don't think he's that bad. I know he was getting a lot of smack talk toward his direction because of the fact that when he was playing over Dako, the team was not doing well. The Rain were trash. They were losing all of their games, even to teams like the Valiant. But hey, I don't think he's that bad. I really don't. He's kind of being underrated in my opinion. Is he around Dako's level? No, of course not. Is he even a B tier? No, probably not. But I personally believe that he is both above Finzi and Coolmet, and I actually think he's low C. I think his Diva's not that bad. It really isn't. And he has a decent Sombra as well, so that's why he's going to be C. Now we have Fury, and he is an absolute god. I don't really have to say much else. I feel like he's probably above Choyobin in my opinion because he has easily been one of the craziest divas in the league this year. So is Choyobin in all defenses, but Fury's been eating grabs at an unreal rate. Literally, it's the highest in the league by a good amount in terms of the averages. He's also been one of the only bright spots, I feel like, for the Spitfire, especially during Stage 1 when they were just abysmal on GOATs. So yeah, I think S tier is pretty well deserved. Now we have Gaggery, and I do have a lot of respect for her. Don't get me wrong. I think it's amazing that she's the only Overwatch League player that is a female right now. Much respect and love for her. But she's not all that good. I feel like her Diva isn't anything super impressive. I think she makes up for it with a solid Zarya, but it's not enough to put her into B. I feel like I'm going to put her above Fried and say she's high C. She hasn't gotten a lot of playtime either, so I feel like that also kind of proves she's not that good, especially in this kind of meta. So yeah, now we have Guardian, and has he even played at all? I'm trying to think. I don't remember. Probably, I'm assuming he hasn't if I don't remember at all. And because of that, I feel like he's probably around the same level as Gaggery if he's not playing either. His Diva might not be anything spectacular as well. So I'm going to say these guys are interchangeable. They're probably the same level if they're both being benched at the moment for the most part. Now we have Hotba. And I actually have a very high opinion on this guy. I don't think it's enough to put him into A tier, but he is definitely up here at the B tier. I think he's kind of like the Korean version of Elsa. He can also play a bunch of different heroes. We've seen him play Tracer, Sombra. Well, has he played Sombra? I don't remember. He's played Pharah as well. And also, his Diva's really good. He's eaten a bunch of grabs. He makes big plays all the time. He's been doing it for a while now. I'm going to put him above Bishu, but just below MV. Speaking of people that I have a lot of praise for and a high opinion on, up next is Jjanu. And I'm sure I'm going to get yelled at yet again when I say that I personally believe that Jjanu is the best flex tank in the Overwatch League as it currently stands. If you want to talk about someone who's all over the place, he goes beyond these two in my opinion. This dude is just on another level of crazy for what he does for his team, and I feel like sometimes he doesn't get the respect he deserves, believe it or not. We always overhype guys like Bumper and stuff, but then forget about just how crazy Jjanu is. Not only is this dude insanely good at being able to keep Bumper in check when he's being super aggressive by peeling for him with Defense Matrix, and then of course peeling for his backline as well, but also he is just the king of not dying. I don't know how it's possible for a Diva player to die such a small amount per 10 minutes. Literally, only one player in the Overwatch League dies less than Jjanu per 10 minutes, and that is Animo, the king himself of never dying. But literally, Jjanu is second place. He's a tank player, and he ranks number 2. And it's not even like this guy plays super passively. He's all over the place all the time. He's just a beast. He's a freak of nature. Definitely the best flex tank in the league at the moment for me. And on that note, we're going to move on to the next player, which happens to be Lateyoung, I believe. Yeah, that's Lateyoung. He hasn't played that much. I'm probably just going to put him like with Guardian and Gaggery then. I think he showed off a pretty good amount of skill during the 2018 World Cup. But is he as good as Elsa? Probably not because he's not playing over him. So I'm going to say he's better than Fried. And I guess he's around the level of Guardian and Gaggery as well. Up next is McGravy. And hey, would you look at that? It's yet another player who actually hasn't played all that much in the Overwatch League so far. And yes, I know he's on the LA Valiant, but obviously this list is not updated or anything. And there's no picture of him, but whatever. So McGravy, I mean, he was probably one of the only good players on Florida, but was his Diva really all that special? No, not really, because it's not that hard to stand out on a team like Florida since they're terrible. I'm going to say he's like a average at best, but you know what? I'll put him like, should I put him above Coolmet? Yeah, I'm going to put him above Coolmet. McGravy's above Coolmet. Maybe you could argue he's above Finzi as well. You know, I will. I'll say he's above Finzi too. That's where I have McGravy. He's like top D at best. but you could argue that he's lower. I would understand that completely. Again, this is just for fun. It's not super serious. If I thought about it more, maybe I'd move him lower or maybe even higher, but hey, that's where he's going to be for now. Now we have Mecco, and this is a tough one. He's like an A+ for me, but I don't feel like making another tier on here. So I think I might just put him S. Like, is he as good as Choi, Fury, and Jjanu? Like, probably. But he hasn't looked as good as last year, but at the same time, he's definitely better than anyone I'm going to put in A tier. You know what? Screw it. We're just going to put him S tier. Mecco's always been a god. He still is a god. He's like bottom S without a doubt for me then. Now we have Michelle. And while I don't think he played as well as he did during Stage 1, I feel like he's done pretty well so far this year, especially during the playoffs during Stage 1. So I'm going to say he's like A. Is he better than Dako? You know what? I'll say he's better than Dako. They're like around the same for me. I'll just say that. But yeah, Michelle's been really good for the Dynasty. Like, actually a pleasant surprise because I thought that Zumba was going to be the starter coming into the year. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of Michelle. He looks like one of the better diva players in the league for sure. Now we have Mickey, and oh, poor guy. He hasn't even played this year. He's probably not going to play again at this rate. And he hasn't been good for a very long time, I feel like. No disrespect to Mickey. He's literally such an amazing dude. I love him so much, but he's like bottom D. He's just not good anymore. He really isn't. Like, I'm sorry to say it because, again, I love the guy to death. He is easily one of the most positive people I have ever seen in the Overwatch community, but he's not good anymore. I apologize, Mickey fans. Next is Nevix, and oh my god, this is another player who hasn't played that much, huh? I've always had a pretty high opinion on Nevix. You can hate on me all you want for this one, but I'm going to say he's literally like smack dab in the middle of C. Maybe a little bit below Lateyoung, but better than Fried. I think Nevix is really good. He's played like all the different positions, and he's still a decent flex tank player, even after all those transitions. Hey, would you look at that? Now we actually have another person who plays a lot again. Up next is No, and if you want to talk about consistent, this is your guy. He's literally the definition of a consistent diva player, and that's why I think he's actually a bit better than both Michelle and Dako, so he is going to be top A for me as of right now. And for me, it doesn't really matter what team he's on, Boston Uprising or Dallas Fuel, the dude is going to pop off. He's shown over and over again that he can consistently show results regardless of what team he's on because he's just so good at Diva. Up next, we have yet another solid flex tank player in Poko, and while I do think he has fallen off a little bit compared to Season 1, I still think he deserves to be somewhere in the A range. Is he better than Dako and Michelle? Maybe. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. I do think that his diva is around the same level, and he also is pretty valuable because of his good Zarya play. But you know what? I think they've done about the same, like all three of these guys, in terms of their overall performance in game. So I'm going to say he's smack dab in the middle. All three of these guys are basically interchangeable. They're around the same skill level. Now we have RCK, and kind of like with Note, doesn't matter what team he's on, Boston Uprising, Dallas Fuel, still a really good player. Does he deserve A tier? Not quite yet, but he's looked really good, especially for someone who played DPS then transitioned into flex tank. I mean, seriously, other than Fury, I'm pretty sure he eats the second most grabs in the league. Like, he's second highest in terms of the average rate of ultimates negated, so that's pretty impressive. I'm going to put him above Elsa, but slightly below Bishu. I think that's pretty fair. Now I have a tough one. Rhea is a very interesting case for me because he hasn't really stood out for me, but I don't think he's bad at the same time. If he isn't standing out for me, then that means he isn't doing anything crazy, but nothing insane either. I feel like he hasn't been a feeder or anything, and I'd say he's probably better than all of these guys down here. So I'll put him... Should I put him above Elsa? Yeah, I think I'll put him above Elsa as well. I think that's fair. Elsa's kind of getting the no smite treatment right now. In my last video, if you didn't see it, I basically put all the people in the tier that no smite was in above him, and everyone was kind of making a joke about it. But anyway, next is Sansam, and I don't think he's quite as bad as people say. I think that he's just kind of stuck on a team. I think that he deserves a bit more credit than he's actually getting, and because of that, I'm actually going to put him low C, just below Fried. I personally feel like he's just been kind of inconsistent. His diva play actually hasn't been all that bad. Not as bad as people say it is. And now we have Space. This is my boy. He's on the LA Valiant. He's always been insane. I think I'm going to put him above Note. I think that Space is probably the best A tank we have. I think he's just below the S tier. Like, he's as good as it gets when it comes to A tiers. I feel like Space has fallen off a little bit compared to Season 1, kind of like with Poko, but it's definitely not all his fault. Look at the team he's playing for. The Valiant have 3 wins right now. They're looking to improve towards the future, and they're just not good right now. It's just a simple fact. And still, through all of it, Space has found ways to still look like one of the top diva players in the Overwatch League. Space has hard carried his team to victory or to almost getting wins a lot this year. I mean, seriously, he's securing kills all the time, and it's not just through self-destruct. He's still negating a lot of ultimates. He's there. He's doing it all for his team, even though they're horrible. I don't know how this guy can look so good when he's on a bad team. All props go to Space. He is still amazing. Now we're down to the final 3, and next up is Spree, and I'll probably get some hate for this one as well, but I think Spree is like just barely bottom C. Like, he's on the cusp of being high D, but I'm going to put him low C just because his Zarya is still good. His Diva's terrible. Don't get me wrong. It's atrocious. I think everyone below him probably has a better Diva, but I feel like he makes up for it because he's so valuable on the Zarya. I don't think it's anything special, and there are probably some people on this list who have a better Zarya, but Spree's really good on that hero. And again, Zarya technically is one of the heroes you play if you're a flex tank. It's not just Diva. So yeah, that's why he's going to be bottom C. Now we have Void. And Void, I feel like he and Space are very similar. I can understand if you'd put him above Space, but because bias, I feel like, and just my personal opinion, I'm going to put him just below Space. They're pretty much interchangeable though. Void, I feel like quietly has been having a really solid season. Void has been killing it this year, and I feel like high A is a must for him. And now lastly, we have Zumba. We haven't really seen much of him, kind of like with a handful of other people on this list, but I feel like Zumba is still a solid B. I'm going to put him above Rhea. I think that I'll put him above RCK as well. I think Zumba is still a really good player. It's just Michelle is even better somehow. His Diva and Zarya are still absolutely insane, but I guess Michelle's just somehow better. That's just what Sol decided to roll with. I was really disappointed that Zumba didn't get to play alongside Fissure yet so far, but hey, we could see it in the future. Well, that pretty much wraps up my tier list maker for Flex Tanks, ladies and gentlemen, but before we go into the outro, let's do a quick recap. So starting off with S tier, there's Jjanu, Fury, Choyobin, and Mecco. In A tier, I've got Space, Void, Note, Michelle, Poko, and Dako. In B, there's Envy, Hotba, Bishu, Zumba, RCK, Rhea, and Elsa. In C, there's Gaggery, Guardian, Lateyoung, Nevix, Fried, Sansum, and of course Spree. Then in D, there's McGravy, Finzi, Coolmet, and Mickey, and technically Zephyr, but for the memes, we have him in Scrim God tier, and that's it pretty much. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate your support as usual, and I know that you guys really wanted to see another tier list video, so I wanted to come through and make another one as soon as possible. And of course, just like with the last video, if you'd like to see another tier list video in the future, then don't forget to hit that like button, and be sure to let me know down in the comments section as well. And if any of you are new around here, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and enable notifications by clicking the bell so you don't miss out on any of my other Overwatch League tier list videos and other discussions I do here on the channel. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. See ya.